This is Wednesday, July 10th. There are 7 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2019. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
BANUHTEE go.
Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current is hyperactive, current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme in pink and purple.
Good evening. I am your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast tonight, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Also tonight, outside Comic-Con herself, Kim Twombly.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
And our special guest this evening is Executive Director of the ComicCon Museum, Adam Smith.
Evening, everyone.
All right, so we are going to be taking your comments and questions throughout the show, so you can tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtag SDConCast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. So let's get right into it. Carrie, why don't you get us started?
Sure. So for anyone who doesn't know, obviously the museum is not fully open yet, but it will be open for Comic-Con this year, which is great. But why don't you give us a little bit of an overview of just what the museum's mission is for this year?
Sure. Well, for those that don't know, the museum is going to be located in Balboa Park, which is about, as the crow flies, about a mile away from the convention center. For people that live in San Diego, it's a very well-known place. There's about 20 million visits a year to the park. It's where the zoo's located and 17 other museums. And about 3 years ago, Comic-Con International was offered the opportunity to have one of the biggest and best buildings in the park. It had been home to a sports museum. They decided to close down, and the city offered the building to Comic-Con and said, would you like to have a Comic-Con museum? And that's something that the organization has been thinking about for a long time. And when I say a long time, the first reference I can find of it was from the program book of 1974. Sheldon is saying, we're going to have a museum one day. And but the opportunity of the location in the park and the you know, just the point that Comic-Con was at as an organization at that point, led the board of directors to really think hard about it and all the implications of having a year-round permanent museum, which is a big deal for an organization that's been pretty much wholly event-focused for its history. But all that led to the decision to do it. I've been working on the project for about 18 months now, and we now have a staff of 9 people working on the project, and we've set an opening date of May 2021 for the final museum. But some of your viewers and listeners might have seen us doing things over the past 12 months because we've got this building. By the way, I'm a professional museum guy, and this is it's either the 3rd or the 4th museum that I've developed from scratch, but it's the first time that I ever had a building to play with as a sandbox. Usually you have a piece of ground and you build the museum on that piece of ground. But it's been really wonderful for us to have this opportunity to test some ideas about Comic-Con Museum over the last 12 months. And what we're going to do next week is like a full-scale test. Everything we've done up to this point has been really event-based and, you know, lasted for 1 day or 2 days and been just used a part of the museum. What's happening next week is that we are activating the entire building. It's 68,000 square feet, and we have a ton of stuff coming in. And so this will be the first time that we were able to sort of say, here is what we think the Comic-Con Museum might look and feel like when it's finished in 2021. It's been a huge effort for us and in some ways a big strain for a very small staff. But I'm really happy that we decided to do it because we're going to learn so much, and I'm actually really excited about all of the different pieces and parts of it, and I'm sure you'll want to talk about those as we go through the evening.
And I think we were actually coming to that next. And I've been lucky. You just had Comic-Con over this past weekend, overrun by dogs, which was amazing to see. And I think it was Sam got to experiment with the panel space. So yeah, if you want to tell us more about the gathering and panels and anything else, the Batman exhibit, Mondo per Universe, I believe, is going to have a fashion exhibit.
Right.
Yeah, anything you'd like to cover? It's a little bit of everything.
It's all happening. Well, first of all, you mentioned the gathering. It all kicks off exactly 1 week from now. We will just be beginning a huge event that's taking place during preview night. Part of my background is that, one of the things that we have to do with this project is to raise some money to build the museum. And one of the things I've done in some of my previous jobs is hold sort of large gala type fundraising events. And I found them to be really effective, because if you can raise money while people are having a really great time, then it's almost perfect. So I saw the opportunity to do that at ComicCon, but I also, there was a big intake of breath when we decided to do it, because big events, we're going to have 1,500 people in the building next Wednesday evening, and that's a lot of organization, a lot of pressure. But when we decided to do it last fall, if you'd have told me then that we would be where we're at now, I would have been thrilled, because we essentially, I think there's probably maybe 3 dozen tickets left, but it will sell out, and so we're going to have a full building and a really awesome program, and I'm really happy about the experience that I think people are going to have during the evening, and also I'm hoping to raise a bunch of money, because the ComicCon has put $11 million into this project, so there's a big investment from the overall organization. But museums aren't cheap to build if you want to do them really well, and we're on this fundraising campaign, and in many ways what happens next Wednesday evening is we're kicking that off. So we'll have a really exciting evening, and one of the big highlights is that we're inducting Batman in as the inaugural inductee into the ComicCon Museum Character Hall of Fame, which is a concept that we're interested in building into the design of the museum. As I'm sure you know, there's a lot of award programs out there, usually recognizing human beings and great creators and things like that, which is fantastic. But we thought there was an opportunity to honor the characters that our fans know and love, and often it's the character that the fan builds the deepest relationship with. I noticed that Kim's got Doctor Who memorabilia on the wall behind her, and it happens to be one of my personal interests. And I appreciate all the different actors that have played the Doctor and now an actress, and all of the different writers and things like that. But what I really love is Doctor Who, and the whole character. And so we were thinking about different approaches to displays in the museum, and we thought the idea of a character hall of fame would be a great way to sort of bring some of that energy into the museum. It should be a way to do a great display. And it's the 80th birthday of Batman this year, and we thought that was just if you really think about it, I reckon there could be as many as 5,000 contenders for this Hall of Fame. There's a lot of characters in our world. And I think in future years, there'll probably be controversy about who gets selected and this and that and the other. But I think there are a few that I would describe as no-brainers. If you're going to have a character Hall of Fame, and I think Batman's one of them. So we felt we were on relatively safe ground to start there in an anniversary year. And one of the things we're doing at ComicCon this year, by the way, is we're going to be inviting nominations for future entrants to the Hall of Fame. So at our booth on the exhibit floor and up here at the museum, we'll have an activity where people can fill out a form and nominate someone. So that kicks it all off next Wednesday evening, and I will be wearing my rather impressive, I have a suit that I bought that makes me look like the Joker, so I'm excited to get dressed up in costume a little bit. And then Thursday morning, we roll into the full-scale activation of the museum. So we'll be here at 9:30 in the morning after a long night the night before. Maybe we might not even go home. We'll be here bright and early to open the doors on what I'm describing it as a pop-up museum, because I don't want people to feel that this is the finished thing. Fundamentally, there's a lot of the infrastructure and some of the changes we want to make to the building, and some of the quality of the furnishings and things like that, they're just not going to be there. But we will have a fully functioning museum. We've got all the restrooms and a cafe and things like that. So I can talk you through some of, maybe I'll briefly talk you through the features, and if you want to drill down into any of them, we can go deeper. A lot of the space will be taken up by the Batman experience. As we worked on the fundraising event, the Character Hall of Fame, then Warner Brothers and DC, and then their parent organization, AT&T, all got very interested in the opportunity to bring assets in, and it all kind of, originally it was just for the event, and then it just made total sense to make all these things available for everyone. So there's going to be one of the largest displays of original screen use props and Batmobiles and costumes and things from the Batman movies that's ever been assembled. And some of the stuff that's here has never been seen outside of Warner Brothers archives before, including some really, really big things. The museum's on 3 levels. In the basement, they will literally start building a Batcave today, and that was fun for me to see that all the workers in kind of hammering wood and realizing what this is going to become, and that there's going to be video game activations down there. And on the main level, that's where we're going to have Batmobiles and Batsuits and a lot of different assets. There's just it's going to be a real sort of Gotham City kind of feel to the museum as you walk in it. So that's really strong. And the AT&T part of the activation is actually bringing some really interesting experiential stuff. There is literally a skydive activity where they've got a mobile skydiving setup, and you put virtual reality goggles on and sort of fly through Gotham City in virtual reality, and you will literally be flying.
And didn't I read that the goggles will look like Batman's thing?
Yeah, I read it too. I haven't seen anything, but so that will actually take place outside the museum. Obviously, we couldn't put something like that inside. So there's going to be, you know, a lot of sort of exciting things around Batman. And what we're trying to do with this pop-up museum is to show people different pieces and parts of what the ComicCon Museum is going to be. So I think when people think about what they want from ComicCon Museum, we've taken thousands of inputs from fans. We had a huge gathering exercise last year, and it was really clear to us that there's some expectation that we do sort of big, blockbustery, exciting things. And I think with the help of DC and Warner and AT&T, we're able to deliver that sort of big, exciting thing and some of those higher level experiences. But it's also really important that we have these other things that we're doing as well, because the museum needs to be more than just that sort of that big Hollywood kind of thing. It needs to be a place where you can see art. So I'm actually sitting in our art gallery, and we have a wonderful art show in here showing the art of Comic-Con over the last 50 years and all the program book covers that have been made. So positioning the museum as a place that you can come into a beautiful space and see art displayed not as second class or low grade art, but comic art displayed as something that is valuable and valid and interesting to look at. That's really important. So I'm actually really proud of this exhibit. I'm sitting in the part where people actually make their own art, and it's been interesting as we've run this gallery that the opportunity for people to be creative and make their own art in the museum. This is one of the big things that I think we've learned through this test phase, is that there's a real hunger for that. And one of the other activities we're doing next week is this Paint Like Bob Ross activity. And that is very deliberately part of what we're doing so that people can come and be creative and learn. And it's interesting. There seems to be a lot, there's obviously a deep love for Bob Ross and everything that he represents. And these are limited in class size, unfortunately. I've got a sense there's going to be a line of people waiting for that one every morning to be first in line for the Bob Ross class. We're also doing panel programmings. There's a 141 seat theater already in the museum. And one of the things I'm really happy about is that the programming department at ComicCon, I don't think that me and my staff could have done this because we're so stretched thin on the other things. But the programming staff at ComicCon volunteered to help us put on panel programming every day. So they've they've organized 4 panels every day in the theater, and a really nice selection of programs. There's quite a strong orientation over to fan subjects and fan presentation. One of the things we're doing, by the way, with this whole pop-up museum we're not requiring a ComicCon badge in order to come in. Now, partly that's because we know there are people, some people don't always have a 4-day badge, and they got some days, and some people don't have a badge at all, and they're just here for Comic-Con. But also, we want to position the museum as being open to the San Diego community. One of the things I'm new to San Diego, I'm new to this project, and I talk to a lot of community groups and Rotaries and churches and things like that. And I always start by saying, who's been to Comic-Con? And if I've got a room of 100 people in front of me, usually there's maybe 2 hands go up. And then I say, who would like to go to Comic-Con? And every hand goes up. And part of the reason for the museum is it's giving this community where where the organization has always been, and an opportunity to reach out into its community. So it's another reason for not requiring a badge, is we want to make this open to San Diego. What else have I missed? Oh, I'm doing these things, by the way, in no particular order, because they're all wonderful. One of the things I'm really excited about is we're doing a display of the Her Universe fashion show. Her Universe really caught my attention because some of my previous life in different kinds of museum, I've done fashion displays, and it's a really good one in a museum. That just having costume or fashion or gowns or whatever displayed, it makes for a really good display. And when I saw the Her Universe fashion show, I thought that would be an awesome museum display one day. And then we met Ashley, who runs that show, and she was like, I always wanted to do a museum show. And so, boom, that came together really fast. And we'll have a bunch of the past winners of the Her Universe fashion show. And then I think their event is on Thursday night.
Yeah, it is.
Hopefully by Friday, we'll have the winners from this year on display as well. So if you want to see everything, I would say, I'm not actually sure 100% when they're coming in on Friday, but so, Saturday or Sunday for sure. You'll be able to see them. There's
that Mondo exhibit, yeah.
We have a Mondo exhibit as well, and that's related to the Batman theme. It was something we really like Mondo, and also the Alamo Draft House, which is sort of part of the same organization. I really like their vibe, and we take a lot of inspiration from that as we think about themed food and movie programming for the future museum and things like that. And obviously Mondo does great art, and we saw that in their Austin gallery they had this Batman show where they had sort of taken a bunch of classic comic covers from Batman and redone them as sort of Mondo screen prints. And they'd never toured a show before, they'd never done anything outside of Austin, but we're really happy to send all those artworks here, so that will be displayed in the museum too.
So real quick, before we move on, I am actually going to take a reader question because we've been asked this a lot. For those who have purchased tickets to the gathering, will they be able to see any of these exhibits that we just talked about, or does that all start on Thursday?
No, one of the privileges of coming to the gathering is you will get to see all of this first. Everything I've talked about will be on display. The one thing that won't be on display for the whole of the gathering is the wind tunnel. We have got a restriction. We can't start that until 9 o'clock, so that'll run from 9 until midnight. But everything else will run through the entire event. And so yeah, this is the gathering is the chance to kind of get those Instagram shots before anybody else.
That's a lot of stuff.
It is.
It is.
Do you? One of our other questions a reader asked was, do you anticipate anything really like causing a line for the weekend? I mean, you mentioned that the Bob Ross is going to have a limited amount, so that may end up with a line.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate anything else, or is the museum big enough to allow enough people that you're expecting to just let people in?
I mean, the truth is, I don't know. Right now, we are planning for literally all eventualities are possible, I guess, that we might be sitting here and nobody's coming. I hope not, and I don't think so. But until you've done something, you don't really know. And we also have contingencies in place for what if the museum reaches it has a legal capacity of how many people can be in the building, and we have to control that to comply with the fire marshal. And so we think we've got a pretty high capacity. It's probably peaks at about 12,000 people per day that we think we can get through here. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this test this year is that you have to take the first step at some point in a journey like this, and to take it sooner rather than later is really helpful for me, because your question I will be able to answer in 10 days from now, and that will definitely help the future of the museum. So it'll be what it'll be, and I've done a lot of events, I've done a lot of things. I think I got a feel for ComicCon. My guess / hope is that it's going to be busy, but not oversaturated busy. But we just won't know until we do it. If a line needs to form, we will form a good old fashioned ComicCon line.
Say we're pros at lines. We no problem there. I mean, we don't like them, but we're good at them.
Yeah. By the way, we've got one of the fun things for me is I've worked in a lot of museums and a lot of event environments, but the fact there is an entire department dedicated to managing lines is fascinating to me, and the knowledge that they have and the issues that they've dealt with, and it's really helpful to us to have access to all of that. So the ComicCon Lines team have been a big part of helping us plan for everything. So
speaking of having the career of setting up museums, you said you set up like 4 museums.
Yeah, I think this is the 4th one. Yeah.
So, but I looked you up, and most of your work is in the aviation industry.
Yeah, well, I think certainly the middle years of my career, I started bouncing around Victorian farming and coal mining and golf and things like that. And then I sort of did this sort of deviation, and I did 3 airplane museums in a row. And in a funny kind of way, I think it's really helped prepare me for ComicCon in a couple of ways. One is that I took over the National Museum of Flight in Scotland, which is where I'm from. And at the moment I took over that museum, I had never even flown in an airplane. I had no interest in airplanes. I knew about museums and history and how to interpret historical subjects. I didn't know the first thing about flying. And I left aviation museums with a pilot's license in my pocket and, a head full of knowledge about airplanes and things like that. But one of the interesting things is that I felt the fact that I came in as an outsider to be extremely valuable and a big part of my ultimate success in airplane museums, because to have the mentality of someone that doesn't know, it helps you carry someone on the journey, to being a fan, if that makes sense. And I feel like I've definitely been calling on that experience in this job, because ComicCon, there are some of the most hardcore, passionate fans, knowledgeable, depth. They are all in on what they love in a way that I think even transcends some of the most nutty aviation people, and part of my job is to help those people communicate to someone that knows nothing what their passion is. And one of the things I found is that the person that knows everything is often the worst person to try and do that, because they know too much. And I think, I'm definitely sort of calling on some of the skills that I think I developed in aviation on how you do that as we approach ComicCon. And that the other thing specifically from my background that I call on every day is that for 12 years I lived in a town called Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is why I crossed the Atlantic to live in Oshkosh. And if you know the world of airplanes, Oshkosh is extremely famous because the world's largest air show takes place there every year. There's about 700,000 people show up and 10,000 airplanes fly in, and it's the ComicCon of airplanes. It's the one. It's Mecca. There are about 600 air shows in America every year, and there are many other comic conventions and pop culture events. But we all know that ComicCon is the one, right? And Oshkosh was the one, and so running a museum at Oshkosh taught me a lot about what it's like to run a museum for that 1 week when the show is on, but also the other 51 weeks when the show is not on, and how those factors kind of interrelate. And I think that that will definitely be the case here at Comic-Con as well, that you have this enormous peak of energy for a week, but then you have the other 51 weeks a year, and a community that is interested but maybe doesn't live in San Diego, and all of those things. So from my airplane background, I definitely follow on the Oshkosh stuff every single day.
That's really cool. You answered the question I didn't get a chance to ask. Is there anything specifically about aviation that you've been able to transfer over into helping to build this museum? I mean, specifically like something about the aviation industry that, you've noticed in setting up those museums, like, oh yeah, I can directly translate that. Not just this is a museum and that's a museum. Is there anything specifically like that, or is it just?
Yeah, I think I will say this, that when I haven't always restricted, even though I've been running airplane museums, I'm a very sort of intellectually curious person. So, while I was running the museum in Scotland, I also ended up curating the first major exhibit on the history of video games, which is actually still touring the world, and I'm really proud of that project. And that's one of the reasons I was so interested in this Comic-Con job, because I loved that video game exhibit that I did, and the opportunity to bring pop culture to a really large audience through a museum. I think if there's anything that's like a constant, whatever museum you're in, is that experiences really matter. The experience that people have of your facility, the level of quality of your staff, and all of those things. But in particular, the exhibit and program experiences that people have. If I've got one thing that I'm trying to bring from those 12 years in Oshkosh to Comic-Con, unquestionably, it's youth education. The folks in Oshkosh, I was part of it, but I can't take credit for it, because many people put together education programs that literally have positively impacted the lives of millions of kids. And we have that opportunity with Comic-Con, no question. In fact, I would say a bigger opportunity, because we've got one thing that is so precious in youth education, which is that we have the interest of the young people, that we have their engagement, because all the things that are part of the world of Comic-Con, kids love them. And that is a wonderful hook to get them interested in educational subjects. So as we talk about the museum, you probably see I've even sat up in my chair, and you feel maybe just a little bit of extra passion in my voice right now, because many people, when they think about Comic-Con Museum, very naturally they start by thinking about exhibits and programs and the kind of things that we're doing during Comic-Con, and that's very natural, and we will do those things as a museum. But the sort of medium to long game that we're playing with this museum project unquestionably is about building an educational powerhouse. The upper level of this entire facility is going to have a lot of classrooms in it and be a place for educational programming. That takes a little bit longer to build. So one of the things I learned in aviation is that great education programs, it takes time to develop and test them and things like that. But we did amazing summer camps, we did amazing experiences, and I'm so alive with the opportunity that exists in the world of Comic-Con, and I know my team is as well. So I'll definitely be trying to translate some of this experience I got in aviation about how you develop and promote and get participation in education programs to the world of Comic-Con.
Well, that's really awesome. Let me see. Do we have You guys want to handle another question here?
Yeah, the commitment to education is staggering and wonderful. Thank you so much, Adam. And I just, as you were speaking, realized that you're sitting. What my brain went to is your coloring pages of when we visited the museum, and I just realized you're sitting in the room with all the coloring pages behind you. It was color your own ComicCon museum cover. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Yeah,
But
program book.
Program book, thank you.
Around, you can see we have a whole wall full of the wonderful art that young people have created here.
And that's what my daughter was gravitated right to. So you've already got it started with just a little bit of coloring.
Right. And that is the simplest, absolutely dirt simple. By the way, I mean, if I'm a geek about anything, it's museums. I like visit museums all the time, and I'm always sort of like looking for great programs. I was really impressed by the Chuck Jones Center for Animation. I was up at Huntington Beach, and they do some great programs. They're taking this kind of activity we're doing here to the next level. And if anyone from that organization is listening, I would love to be connected to you.
Well, you spoke of fundraising earlier, and the museum tweeted a little bit ago about doing some auctions. Is it during Comic-Con? What can you tell us more about it? I know what we saw was a guitar being signed.
Oh yeah, you saw it. We put that on social media today, which was the first indication we're having some auctions. So during the gathering, there will be a silent auction and a live auction. So that is for the attendees at the event. We're going to have some cool stuff and some cool experiences that will be auctioned. But we wanted to have a portion of the auction that was accessible to everyone. So we don't have the site live yet, but at some point over the next 7 days, we'll be publishing the link to an online auction site where the guitar that you saw, which was signed by Claudio from Coheed and Cambria. We've also got some really amazing artworks that are going to be auctioned, and I think most of the art is going to go online because there are collectors out there that I think are going to look at some of this stuff and go, wow. So yeah, we'll be posting that on social as soon as we've got everything. And I know the team was taking photographs of everything today so they could post it on the auction site.
So if you don't mind, we're going to take a couple of reader questions. Ronnie McRae asked, will there be any special guests at the gathering?
Yes, there will. And I unfortunately cannot talk about them right now.
That's okay.
Because I think we're preparing to sort of announce that. But I think suffice to say there will be some cool people. Yeah.
Awesome. And then Trope Forced asks, are there any plans to have pre or post Comic-Con events to extend the experience?
Yeah, I'm already picking up like almost a sense of regret that we can't do this for longer. And actually, when I was in Oshkosh working as part of this giant event, the busiest days of the year on my attendance count were the 2 days prior and the 2 days after the big event, because people, they don't want to cut into their event. They want
to supplement it. Yeah.
They want to supplement it. And I know that the way we structured the museum this time is we're not able to do that. All I can say is I love to, we plan to, that's how it will be in the future, but I can't really I can't express how much work it is just for us to do the days of Comic-Con this year. And
I believe it.
If my team heard me even kind of like mentioning that we might do longer, I think they would literally like string me up.
That's funny. All right. So Rockabye asked, will we be able to sit in the Batmobile?
Be able to sit in the Batmobile? No.
I didn't think so.
These are like the Batmobiles, and these are precious cargo. I have dealt with some of the most valuable historic airplanes in the world, and these Batmobiles are insured for a similar kind of sums, you know. So they are precious cargo. So we'll you know, chance to see them, get up close to them. There will be an interesting vehicle that's part of the AT&T activation. They are bringing in a vehicle that, how do I describe this? It's sort of a futuristic self-driving car of the future that you will be able to get in. And imagine that it was designed and built by Wayne Industries, and you will be driving through the streets of Gotham in a real car, virtually, and experiencing the tech of the future. I have not, as you can probably tell from the hesitation, I haven't actually sat in this thing, but that is what I am expecting to see.
It sounds cool. So I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway because we've been asked all the time. H Macho asked, "Will there be a shuttle to the museum?"
Unfortunately, not. Again, in sort of deciding to do this, there were certain things that we have to take on, like security and public safety and staffing and all those kind of things. If I'd have loaded the cost of a shuttle onto it, I don't think we could have done it. And so it's, again, it's something that I anticipate will happen in the future, but it's not, in fact, it's not just the cost. It's like, how do you work it into the logistics and the parking and the shuttling and all that kind of stuff? It was just one of those things that it is what it is. And what we are specifically encouraging people to do is think about rideshare. An Uber or a Lyft from the gas lamp up here is, $6 or $7, and especially if you're sharing that. And it's the most convenient way to get into Balboa Park. You don't have to worry about parking. You can be dropped right off at the entrance and things like that. So one of the things that I think has happened at Comic-Con over the last few years is that rideshare has really become a preferred means of getting around for a lot of people anyway. So yeah, sorry there's no shuttle. Would love to have one, and that's something we can consider for the future.
Fingers crossed. So Juan Miguel asks, from our perspective, it seems like the eBay auctions for the badges, which I know are helping to also benefit the museum, those seem to have gone well. Do you know if there's any plans to continue that tradition in future years? Is that still TBA?
Yeah, that we'll assess how this year went, and it's I think it's gone well from a process point of view. It seems to have been quite smooth and generally well received, and as an opportunity to get access and also help the museum. And any future decision will be, we'll assess what happened this year and move forward from that point.
Makes sense. And then let's see here. I think that about does it for our reader questions, unless you saw anything else, James, that was pertinent.
I saw one that was not really pertinent, but the Batcave they're building, James Binder asked this, is it going to be a Batman 66 Batcave or a specific one, or is it just a Batcave full of bat stuff?
I think there is a general orientation of the theming, not exclusively, but generally this is 1989 Batman, because it's the 80th anniversary of Batman overall, but it's also the 30th anniversary of what was a very big point in the Batman journey. So the Tim Burton era of Batman, I think it would expect to see that represented perhaps more strongly than some of the other areas. But I think you will pick up some flavors of different things. But no, it is not a Batman 66 Batcave. It's I'm not actually sure it's any specific one, but I know what the Batman 66 one looks like, and I don't think it's going to look like that.
So also on a completely unrelated question to the Comic-Con Museum, which is your favorite Doctor?
Oh, no question. Okay, so I have a theory about doctors, that whoever was the Doctor when you were 10 years old is your Doctor. And so that, for me, that is Tom Baker, fourth Doctor, no question. If you come in my office in the Comic-Con headquarters, you will see behind my desk is a full-size TARDIS, and there is also a full-size Tom Baker, Fourth Doctor, staring down at me as well. So, yeah, he will never, he'll never be beaten, in my opinion.
Very cool.
Has there been a bad one? Maybe Sylvester McCoy. Sorry, but
That's okay. All right. So, Adam, before we let you go, thank you so much for joining us. Like, this was a great conversation, and I hope people learned a lot about the museum. Why don't you tell us where people can find the museum online?
Okay. We've been using a kind of a convoluted address, and I think we decided to start using comic-con.org/museum. So that we're tied a little bit more closely to the master ComicCon site. So comic-con.org/museum is the place to go for museum information. During the show, we are having a booth on the exhibit floor. It's number 1714, same place as last year. As I mentioned earlier, we'll have an opportunity to nominate future entrants into the Character Hall of Fame. We're also going to be displaying a few of the architects' renderings of the museum and some imagery of what it's conceptual at this point still, but a chance to get a little bit more of an idea about the museum and its design, and also a chance to buy a membership. One of the ways that we're building support for the museum and fundraising is building a membership base of people that buy into the museum as charter members at an early stage. And we've got 12,000 of those already, which I'm really happy about, because to me that's like there's already an army of 12,000 people that's saying we believe in this enough to, even without knowing what it is, to sort of pre-purchase our first year of admission or whatever it is. So the more people that do that, it helps on the fundraising, but in a funny kind of way, it also helps me persuade foundations and larger dollar donors to support the museum, because that we're demonstrating there's a groundswell of grassroots support behind the museum.
And you're also going to have a panel during the con as well, correct?
We are. Do you have the information? Because my Swiss cheese-like brain, I know it's on Sunday, and I think it's 24 ABC. And I
am pulling it up right
think
now.
it's noon. I think I would have to look at my calendar.
So yes, it is at noon. It's in 24 ABC.
All right, I got it. Yeah, what I'm going to do with that, I think, is the architects have created like the entire building that I'm sitting in. They've modeled in this software called Revit, which architects use for 3D modeling. And I think we're going to go into the Revit model of the museum and sort of almost do this sort of conceptual guided tour of what the museum will be inside of the 3D model. So that plus other things that I will invent between now and then will be our panel.
Very cool. Well, I don't think we've gotten any late questions. So I guess that's it, right? Anything else?
So, no, I think we're good. So thank you so much again, Adam, for joining us. And I hope everyone who watched will see you at the museum next week.
Thank you. I enjoyed the conversation.
And thanks to your team too. You and your team are so thoughtful and kind. It's just random museum goers coming in.
Well, we have a fantastic team of people working on this project. They're very, very dedicated. And I actually feel kind of bad at the moment. Just they are really burning every hour, as is the whole ComicCon International staff, by the way. It's a time of no sleep and in some ways a lot of stress. But eventually we get there and it happens, and we all have a lot of fun. So I hope all your viewers have a great time next week as well.
I'm sure they will. So don't work too hard, even though I know you will, because you have 1 week before you open. And we wish you great success, and we hope to see you there.
Awesome.
All right.
I'll look out for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Bye.
Thank you. Night.
All right, so we are going to stay on and do the news, and there has been quite a lot of it.
Really? Only a little?
Only a little, tiny amount of news.
I'm not ready. We're not ready. All right.
Let's get.
We're not ready at all. And we get to do this again on Friday for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
So,
I would like to get to the most important question I saw, and that is, where are the best tacos in San Diego?
This is a convoluted question
It is.
with many possible answers.
There is not an actual answer to the question. There are great tacos all over town.
Yeah.
But do you want fancy tacos? Do you want street tacos? Do you want fast? Do you want to sit down? I mean, there is no actual answer. So just go look around. There's tacos somewhere.
You will find some. Is
You
what's
will.
guaranteed.
there's already like 20 different answers in our chat, by the way.
Right. Exactly. Yes, I did want to comment about the no shuttle thing, and a lot of people are mentioning it. Yeah, the rideshare is going to be your best bet because not only is it the most convenient way there, find someone to share if possible, but there also is very limited parking at Balboa Park, and it's going to be a hassle if there are hundreds and thousands of people that may be trying to go, plus the normal crowd that's there. So definitely take some rideshare if you can. Or just hop on public transportation because there's at least one bus that goes there. I think a route that goes there from downtown to the Balboa Park area.
And parking is not terrible if you do end up driving yourself. You might have to walk a little bit, but it's not terrible. And just going back to the taco question, I think the important note is that Taco Bell will not be there.
That is the
sad
important
part.
note. It is sad. I confirmed that like 2 weeks ago. So Taco Bell, there's no surprise Taco Bell anything coming. So, but we do have lots of chocolate news for you tonight. As your number one source of chocolate ComicCon news, we are
every year it's something. Right? Last year it was Taco Bell. This year it's chocolate.
All the free chocolate. Fine by me.
All right. So first off, just in general news, our autograph and signing schedule is constantly being updated, and there's been a ton of stuff added. So just go to the site and click on the banner for the autograph, or just click on the menu, and you will find a nice giant list of signings, all organized by type and time.
Speaking of giant lists, we also have a giant list of artists who are taking commissions. So if you would like any sort of art at the convention from all kinds of artists, we have a monstrous list that Andy has been putting together of all the artists who are doing that, both pre-convention and on-site.
And we had the Conan Pops announced, and I think we have pictures, maybe.
We do, except for I forgot to warn Beth in advance, and so you can just ramble on about them while they eventually show up.
The last two hints that they gave were tricky, and so
Yeah,
congratulations to anyone who guessed Iron Man. You were correct.
Yeah,
I did not think it was Iron Man, actually.
I was starting to go on the C-3PO route, but then they pulled that back in.
I was agreeing with people that were saying Wally.
Yeah, Wally, which doesn't make sense, but it made sense from the picture. So,
yeah. I mean, yeah, Conan with.
it would have been like the little box of Wally with Conan
hair. I would have actually liked to have seen this. Maybe someone can do a rendering. One of the fanatics.
Could someone like make a custom Conan Wally?
So, we ended up having Woody, Iron Man. Who else?
Pennywise,
which looks amazing.
and Jon Snow.
There they are. Pennywise. There's the Iron Man. There's the Jon Snow. And there's the Woody.
It's kind of not Night Watch Jon Snow. He's kind of going with, matches his orange hair a little bit.
Yeah. And like always, we do not know which day these will be released.
Nope.
Although you can kind of think Pennywise is coming on Wednesday with the It cast. That would make
Yes.
sense.
It would make sense. So, moving right along, we had the TV guides released this week, which these are basically the free TV guides that they give away at the WB booth. There are 4 this year featuring Batwoman, Supernatural, Riverdale, and then a powerhouse one that features, I think, 100 or over 100 different women of the DC shows, basically.
And then DC Universe is doing a ton of stuff at the show, including offering some special stuff if you subscribe while you're there. But they have some experiences and a yacht brunch. But the exclusive covers they're releasing, you get 4 variants of basically some key comics in the DC history, including Young Justice Outsiders #1, Detective Comics #1000 with an exclusive black and white Jim Lee cover, Saga of the Swamp Thing #21, and Doom Patrol 19, which is basically the start of the series by Grant Morrison that basically is the basis for the Doom Patrol TV show. So there's a ton of DC Universe stuff, and you can check out all the details on the site.
Someone, I know we're getting to reader questions later, but someone just asked how long a Conan taping was, and the taping itself was, what, about an hour?
Yeah.
Because he's pretty much live, but it's the lining up and picking up your tickets earlier in the morning that usually adds a lot to your timing for the day. So keep in mind, and as I said before, if you got tickets, check your tickets for all the timing information.
And remember that the last couple of years they've given out way more tickets than they have available. So even though you have like the confirmed 1 iota tickets, you still have to get there early to pick up your physical tickets before they run out, which they will.
And then at that point, you have a guaranteed seat, and you don't have to worry about getting there right when the doors open for the actual taping.
Yep, your full party does have to be there to pick up their tickets and wristbands. However, someone actually asked me this earlier. Once you have your tickets and your wristband, you can split up however you want. Like, you don't all have to re-arrive back at the venue together. So don't worry about that.
So we're moving on. News announced by the Blood Drive by the San Diego Blood Bank was their T-shirts that they're giving away for donors and people who try to donate as well, even if you're turned away. For low iron or whatever have you. They are Avengers in-game shirts, and pictures are on our site.
We had the privilege today of announcing this year's Fox booth mini poster giveaways, which feature artwork for Bless the Hearts, Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, The Simpsons, Next, which is a new series, What Just Happened with Fred Savage, and The Orville. So you can stop by Fox's booth throughout the week to pick those up.
And we had, is there any other news we wanted to cover? I mean, there was so much news that, I mean, honestly, we could sit here and talk for half an hour just about newsy type things that were announced. But let's move on to offsites. And we had announced today that HBO is bringing The Watchmen for an offsite, and in a bit of, I think, genius planning, they are actually going to do the same offsite, it looks like, in 2 locations. Yep. So 2 chances for you to wait in a 4 to 10 hour line, I would assume.
Well, hey, if there's 2, maybe it's a 2 to 5 hour line, right?
Exactly. So it's going to run Thursday through Sunday, like most offsites, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, including Sunday, which is very strange for an offsite to be running that long on a Sunday.
But phenomenal. Like, so, I mean, everybody else is like 1 p.m. Sunday, we're closing up shop. So honestly, like, good for HBO for being like, we're going to stick around.
And even if they just ran it to 5 p.m., that'd be different than most other offsites.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure someone definitely had like a 1 p.m. close time on Sunday. I don't remember if it was like Adult Swim or Fox, but somebody definitely did.
So the 2 locations are at the Petco Park home plate gate at Gwynn Drive and Hoffman Way. It's adjacent to the shuttle bus drop-off and close to the footbridge. And then the other will be at a parking lot on the corner of 6th and Island. These will be first come, first serve, like most offsites. There looks like there's going to be no signups or reservations or anything like that. So just plan ahead. And I think they mentioned that, they will be giving away exclusive Watchmen enamel pins, it looks like, possibly. Are they giving those away? Are they like purchase? I think they're giveaways, right?
They're giveaways. Yesterday's made the pins, FYI, as I was told.
All right, cool. All right, so that is the Watchmen experience. That one I'm looking forward to.
And I'm having flashbacks to WonderCon 2009, so 10 years ago when we got a Watchmen sneak preview of the movie and all this cool swag. So I'm excited to relive that a little bit. And we are moving on. We had restaurant coupons announced from the San Diego Convention Center. They put a PDF of coupons on their site, which we've linked to through ours. And do pay attention because some say not applicable during Comic-Con. But there are
just the one.
Just one? Okay. And some say special events. We're not sure about that. But there are a great number of restaurants, and there are great deals, 15%, 20%. So it's worth paying attention to for eating out in downtown.
Yeah. Work is continuing on the massive 60,000 square foot Amazon activation, which will be over where Jack Ryan was last year. This year it will be for The Voice, Carnival Row, and The Expanse. Parks and Cons went and got a look at the setup, which has some really cool looking LED screens on a really giant tower. And there's a couple buildings being set up, so it looks like it's going to be huge. It looks like it's going to be fun. Parks and Cons also got a look at a couple of other things going on this week. Cool Sites managed to spot the banners for Avengers, the PS4 game. Those are now up on the Hilton Garage, so that's cool. And then Parks and Cons.
Oh no, Carrie froze.
Oh no!
Where did Carrie go? She's frozen. There she is. She's back.
Hi.
You back, Carrie?
I don't know how much you missed.
We did not hear you say, but I knew you were going to say that Parks and Cons spotted the Batwoman.
Yes, the Batwoman banners that are out and about in the gas lamp.
Really cool. I think those just went up today. I don't think those were up yesterday.
All right, so one of the other things announced was the Comedy Central hole-in-one, mini golf for South Park, and something for cranky anchors. So the South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut anniversary is coming, and they're celebrating with mini golf. It's a 9-hole mini golf course, open from Thursday through Sunday, free, no badges required. You can also purchase limited edition South Park shirts with a new shirt available each day. And then at the Comedy Central booth, 3729, it will be transformed into Yankerville, where fans will get an exclusive first listen to crank calls from the new season of Crank Yankers, and take pictures with the some of the Crank Yankers puppets.
Going back real quick to those Amazon offsites, there is an RSVP thing that we posted today. I honestly don't think it really means much of anything. I mean, it might save you like 60 to 90 seconds of the offsite to save you from pre-registering there, but I don't think it's if you don't sign up, you don't get to attend.
And moving on, History's Vikings announced an offsite today for just Saturday. They will be taking over Throw It in San Diego, which is an axe throwing center that looks perfect for them. So they will be having battle axe training for one day with special guests appearing.
Legion M and the Pop Insider are hosting some really cool stuff at Comic-Con this year, including like a fan lounge that's going on all week. There's also a bunch of pop-up parties, rooftop parties. Like I know on Sunday they're doing a Harry Potter themed one. You can sign up for all of that on Eventbrite. We've got it all on our site. They're also doing a couple of other cool things. I think there's an Aliens something screening and some other stuff. So you can find, yes, that's it. So you can find all of that on our site.
And Sci-Fi is back with the trivia trolley and the karaoke bus. Those will be running from Thursday through Saturday. You can head out. Let's see, buses depart from Union Co-work, and the trolleys leave from the Pendry Hotel. And you can sign up for both the bus and the trolley each morning beginning at 10:30 a.m. at either location to secure rides for the day. The buses will run from 11 to 6, and the trolleys will run from 11 to 7. Those were incredibly fun from what I hear.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing too. So I'm actually going to try to do one of those this year. And I know that they had like some cool surprise guests last year. So you never know who you're hopping on the karaoke bus with. But Adult Swim also announced all of their stuff, which is a whole lot of it. So Adult Swim on the Green is back. The big thing they have this year is the Rick Flector, which is some sort of, you get transported into another dimension. Sounds, I don't know what that means. But that will be open from Thursday through Sunday, and that does close at 1 p.m. on Sunday. They've also got all kinds of other stuff, like you can get toasted in a mechanical hot dog or try to pop an unpoppable balloon. They've got the merch store back this year if you want to go buy some stuff there. And then they've got all of their nighttime events, like you can go see Wham City Live. There's like a Rick and Morty screening thing, I think. You can actually meet the cast of Rick and Morty. So again, all of that is on our site.
And then in what may end up being the swankiest offsite is Epic's Pennyworth London Underworld, which is happening, let me see, where is it happening at? At the Pendry, right?
Yeah, it's at the Pendry.
It will be open from Thursday through Saturday. Thursday is 11 to 5, and then Friday and Saturday are 10 to 7. It's at the Pendry Hotel on 5th at the Oxford Social Club. And basically, it looks like it's going to be a full interactive thing where you have to decode a password just to get access inside. So it may be a 2-part, if not more, thing. It looks really cool.
I mean, I suspect that it's just like an escape room. I mean, it sounds freaking amazing, but everybody's all caught up on the password, and I'm like, it sounds to be like an escape room.
Yeah,
So,
it is. But
yeah,
I mean, if it's London Underground in some kind of club in the 60s, it's sounds like it's just going to be really cool at least.
it sounds amazing. Honestly, like I think this is the best offsite that's been announced. There's some other stuff. Kim, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so I was going to mention the Team Coco House. Tickets went up and went away quickly yesterday, but they did announce that there will be standby lines for I believe that's just Thursday through Saturday for their shows in the afternoon and evenings.
And remember that the midnight at Coco's, those are first come, first serve anyway. So there were no tickets for that. So you can still line up to try to get into those no matter what.
And we've got Fox's Animation Domination was announced, Fanfare, which will be outside the new Children's Museum where Castle Rock was last year, and taking over with amusement rides and games for their amazing series, Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, and the new Bless the Hearts, just like the trolleys.
Yep, and we should be getting some more info on that, I think, tomorrow.
So there's a ton of other stuff as usual. Just check the calendar on the site. We do have a few questions. Sir Licious Meg asked, do you need to pre-order the Needy Bakery sweets or can you buy them the day of? They are pre-order only. We want to make sure that was known. And then we also wanted to talk about, we just posted earlier when Parks and Cons was down there, they had pictures of the Hyatt Hotel. And we just wanted to make sure everyone is aware that when you show up, check in and the lobby is now out front since they're doing construction in the lobby. So all of you who are staying at the Hyatt, you go ahead and have fun with that. That does not look like it's going to be a good time. Standing outside waiting to check in, especially during the rushes of Wednesday and leaving on Sunday, or I feel sorry for all of you staying at the Hyatt this year because that looks like it's going to be a mess.
It does. Yeah. So again, any other offsites will be on our calendar, or if they were announced today, they'll be in post and then added to our calendar at some point very late this evening. So.
All right. And there are some other questions that aren't related to offsites and such that we may get to later. So if you've asked a question, we might get to it still. But if you have a question, you can still ask them on Twitter or in the live chat. But we are going to get to some exclusives now, correct?
Sure.
All right. Someone else besides me handled Toddland, because I think we didn't cover their last batch of exclusives on any podcast.
Yeah, let's do some exclusives. This is gonna be real fun because I'm like, there is stuff I posted today that I look at, and I'm like, wait, this was today. So this is gonna be real fun to figure out what is new from the last week and what is it. But Toddland has all of their Fox animation exclusives for Bob's Burgers, American Dad, and Family Guy. I believe they're all still up for pre-sale. They might not be. I know a couple of things definitely sold out, and I think with them, once they sell out, I don't think there's any more at the booth. I think it's just kind of what it is. It looks like they are still on the site. So go pre-order because those will surely close very soon.
Yup.
Yep.
All right. What do we have next?
I can do this one. Lego today, we got I think it's the final set, which is the Star Wars Sith Trooper. It looks pretty cool. It is a 484-piece set that will retail for $45, and it was part of the online exclusives portal. It just was not, like, you didn't see a photo of what you were putting your points in for. Yeah. Yeah. And because we keep getting asked this question, so they said that winners for the portal will be notified 48 to 72 hours after close, which it closed yesterday. So that would mean tomorrow or Friday timing as far as being alerted to, hey, you won, or no, you're a loser, which is what I'm going to be for the third time.
So that's exciting.
It's okay. I've made my peace with it. I'm ready to be a third-time loser. James, talk to us about Hasbro.
Hasbro. So apparently today was a reveal of the Sith Trooper from the Rise of Skywalker Day, because everybody announced something in the Star Wars world that was connected to the Sith Trooper. And Hasbro, of course, has a Sith Trooper. It's a Black Series Sith Trooper. Will sell for $32, and it is the final, I'm assuming, but we never know, thing that is coming with Hasbro. So basically, you can check it out on the site. We're trying to get the thing to work over there for the slides, but it looks like it's given us problems. So we will worry about that another day.
Yep, not tonight.
So go ahead.
Good. Our friends at the Ninja Bot announced a couple of things this week, including they are doing an Alien Remastered retro colored variant edition print, which the regular one will retail for $20, but they had a canvas one that was super limited for $150. They've also made a couple of variants of their vinyl toy in a couple different colorways. And then today they announced that they will be debuting a new Captain Marvel print.
Which that Captain Marvel print's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
It's really cool.
They do good stuff.
And then Funko, riding the Sith Trooper train, announced that they will have a Sith Trooper pop exclusive to the show as well. It's an early release edition, so you can expect that it's probably just going to be the same thing as the Trooper that actually gets released. It's just going to have the sticker. So it sounds like to me. So, go ahead and be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, they also announced since our last podcast where we did these, that the Rick and Morty pops that are coming that you can't see what they are will be something from the premiere of the 4th season. And also there will be a Winona Earp pop, which is going to be exclusive to the show, limited to 1,000 pieces. So that one is going to be hard to get.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Monogram announced their final exclusives, which, if this page will load, was an Avengers Endgame, basically all of Thor's weapons, which I'm not going to try to pronounce. They also did online pre-orders, which today was the last day. The pre-orders were for shipping only, though, not for booth camp. So if you want to get them actually at the show, just head to their booth.
Yep. And I think UCC just had like one extra thing that they added, those mini brands.
Which will only be available at their second booth, booth number 700.
Yep. And then Marvel, we got the Marvel today.
Yes.
Which is amazing. There's so much stuff. And we got it the week before the con, but there are a ton of cool t-shirts. The usual assortment of Scotty Young pins, which they will have blind boxes and sets, and then stuff, I think 3 pins that you can get if you purchase a certain amount, dollar value amount. And then they'll have some comic exclusive covers, lanyards, things like that. Basically, it's just a whole bunch of usual cool stuff. And I think that the t-shirts and other apparel is actually probably a little better than some past years. I think
I truly think this is like the best lineup they've ever had. I mean, not only do we have like the t-shirts, but like we've got those cool looking jerseys. Those look awesome. Like all the t-shirts look like winners. I think, quite frankly, this is their best lineup that they've maybe ever had.
Those resort shirts are in since they're all over Disneyland as well. But that's a neat addition to that lineup.
Yeah, I think so too. And I love that Deadpool. I went to Comic-Con and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. Because again, I love anything specific to Comic-Con. So for my money, that's the best one. But there's so many awesome ones this year. Real quick, I did want to mention, because we always get asked, if you are considering an autograph at Marvel's booth, don't. Every single year it's the same story, and it's basically exhibitors fill the line. Maybe like 5 regular people get to draw. So odds are you will not be one of those 5 people. So I would just set my expectations accordingly.
Yeah. So basically what you do is, if you really, really have to try, get there, realize you can't do anything, and get in line for the merchandise, because the merchandise is cool.
Yeah.
Got it. Because then you'll at least be in line for something.
Yeah. But don't do the Marvel autographs, kids. Don't do it. It's my advice. Let's see here. So Mondo, we've started to get Mondo's releases, and I think they have a ton more still to come. So earlier this week, I don't know what day it is, they announced a Who Framed Roger Rabbit set of enamel pens. There's a vinyl record for the soundtrack. There's another vinyl record for Blade Runner 2049. There's a Venom Mondoid figure that's coming, and then today we got a super pretty Metal Gear Solid poster with art by, I'm not going to say this right, Sachin Ting. That is limited to 225 pieces and will retail for $50. And then we also got a vinyl for Metal Gear Solid. This is the Gray Fox edition, and it will retail for $35.
And then on to the next company who decided to have 50 million things coming to Comic-Con. BBC America is bringing a massive amount of 13th Doctor stuff and other Doctor Who merchandise. Everything from the Pating Pop all the way up to hoodies, t-shirts, jewelry, mugs, other glasses, tattoos, and also, they will be announcing the fan art contest winners. They're going to announce them over the course of, I think it's 3 days or so, and you will be able to buy the designs of not only the winner, but the top 4 runner-ups. And each day they will announce a couple of them, and then you will be able to get those each day. So that's really cool that they're doing that for the design winners. But there's things like backpacks, wallets, crystal carving.
Sweet.
I mean, so much stuff. But yeah, go check it out. There's a long list of stuff.
Yeah. So we'd already seen pretty much most of Blizzard stuff, but we did get one new one this week. It looks like they will have a Fig Pen Classic World of Warcraft War Chief Thrall, which will be at the booth, limited to 1,000 pieces, retail for $20.
And Boom announced all of their exclusives.
Can I do this one?
I suppose you can do this one.
Okay, Boom has some really cool stuff. For my money, the coolest thing is the Magician's Alice's Story 10th Anniversary exclusive variant hardcover, which if you've seen the other one, this one is way prettier. But they also have a bunch of variant comics like Angel #1. They've got some Mighty Morphin Power Rangers stuff. They've also got a couple of items for Lumberjanes. They've got some pins for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They've got all kinds of cool stuff. And we also actually announced their signings list today. So,
well, I would like to point out that I think Boom is the one that has the Power Rangers, right? Did you mention the Power Rangers Orange Ranger?
I did not. You can do that.
I mention that one because that one is actually being done as a Make-A-Wish wish granting for someone who wanted to become a Power Ranger. And so they are doing an exclusive Comic-Con cover with an Orange Ranger to fulfill that wish. I think that's really cool.
So real quick, since we're here, Alejandro Hurtado asked for Boom Studios WWE. The signing says that you have to buy a print in order to attend the signing. He said, do I buy the print that day or could I buy it on Thursday? I don't know the answer, and a lot of times, like, just in general, you don't know the answers to these sort of signing questions. But the general rule that we tell people is just go ask at the booth. Any signing questions you have, go ask at the booth.
And especially nice is if you wanted to try buying it on Thursday, you ask on Thursday. And if they say no, you come back Friday. If they say yes, you buy it, and then you come back Friday for the signing.
Exactly.
That will work out very well for you if it either way, you're ahead of the game if you go there and ask.
Yep.
And then Patrick Ballesteros had some more exclusives, correct?
Yes, he did. He had those. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Pieces. There were 3 of them, and then we also announced that gorgeous Stan Lee one.
Right. The story,
which features. Yes, and it's just a lovely little tribute. I think it's cool. So that one is actually not an exclusive, which is it's good because that means it won't only be available just one day of this show. But he did say that it will be available in limited quantities, so I would still head there earlier in the week. It's 9x12 print. You can pick it up for $20.
All right, so we had, I'm going to say probably about minimum 20 other companies / artists / exhibitors with exclusives that have been revealed in the last 5 or 6 days at least. So anything on the site, just go check it out. Go to the exclusives tab and just start scrolling, and you'll be there for a few hours looking at stuff. And you're like, why can't I get that? Oh, special mention to 100% Soft with those wide dumpster fires.
I think that's amazing.
Those are awesome.
I know. He said that to me earlier, and I was like, this is so cool.
Those things will be gone so fast now.
Yeah, and I think we're getting more stuff from him tomorrow to show you guys. So cool.
All right. So let's get into some questions. Janelle asked about the Indigo line for staying overnight. Where is that line at? It is not inside the hotel, correct? It's still outside?
It is outside. You do not get to sleep inside the hotel.
That costs $200, folks.
Yeah, not unless you're paying them. So the Indigo is really the only line that's different, though. Who knows what the hell's up with Hall H? And we did not talk about that, so we're going to talk about that next.
I have that note to talk about, yes.
Okay, hold on now. So Indigo. Basically, you have to go around to the back of the Indigo, so like along the marina, and there's like a little ramp thing that goes up, so the line will start kind of at the bottom of the ramp, and then it just circles around. Basically, it's the only line anywhere over by the Indigo. So
because they curve the Hall H line before it gets to the hotel, so it doesn't.
Right, it does not cross the street. Yeah.
Okay, so the other big news was the Hall H wristband information was released today, and we say released in a half manner because it is only half of the information, which we knew they were going to do them again.
Half is generous, James. Half is very generous.
Well, they did tell us half of the news that the line starting the next day line was moving. They just didn't tell us where. And they told us we will be able to pick up the wristband. They will start giving out wristbands, but they didn't tell us when.
So that to me is like 10% of the news. So one of us is very bad at math, but I'm not sure who. But we will at least find out where in the quick guide. They do an online version of the quick guide, so we're very much hoping that it's in that so that we find out before we get to the convention. But if not, basically as soon as someone gets one of those little books, someone can look it up and share where the heck that line has moved to, because we don't know.
Nope.
I think it's 50-50 on whether or not that information includes wristband distribution times or not. In the last couple of years, they have told us, but the fact that they did not say that today would be in the quick guide to me says it might not be.
And therefore, they want to catch people by surprise instead of all of a sudden everyone showing up 10 minutes before the time of wristbands, and all of a sudden a line of 4,000 people becomes 20,000 people.
Yep.
As for the wristbands and the process themselves, Pac-Man asked about, you got to be in line at 7:30 a.m. all day. No. The 7:30 a.m. thing that they mention is for the morning of the panels that you have a wristband for. So if you get a wristband on Friday night for Saturday, you have to be back in line with your wristband by 7:30 a.m. If you're not in line by 7:30 a.m., they can conceivably and probably will send you to the back of the entire line instead of the back of the wristband line. So that 7:30 a.m. thing is just be back by 7:30 a.m. If you get the wristband the night before at 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. at night, and go back to your hotel, just be there before 7:30. Back in line.
And James, since you've done this before, they're color-coded or number-coded, is that right? So you just find your code?
Right. No, you can't. If you leave the line and you have no one saving your place, you have to go back to the entire end of the wristband line. So you have to go to the back of the D wristbands, even if you have A, because it's the one wristband line. The colors are just so you have an idea of where you are in line. That's all. So yeah, if you have A and you leave the line and no one is saving your spot, and that means a person, not a thing. Things cannot save your place in line. And no one's there, you have to go back to the end of D. It means you'll still get in because they are not guaranteeing it, but the way they do the wristbands, it's supposed to, unless something happens like what happened in the past where people are very naughty and counterfeited things.
So can I point out something? I mean, I think that they probably just left the wording off, but I thought it was interesting earlier that this is the first year in my recollection that they did not specifically say for color bands. They just said color zones. They did not specify the amount. So a tiny part of me wonders if maybe we're not doing A, B, C, D.
Maybe not. But in the past, that was the process. But
yes.
If they don't announce it, will they do the same thing? Maybe. We don't know. We don't know anything except for that the wristbands are back. That's all we know. And be back before 7:30 if you leave the line. Those are the two things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, that's like 10%.
Dapper Dude asked what's the ADA lineup for Hall H and everything else. The Hall H question is answered in the Hall H information on the site. It's over next to Hall H itself, so you can just go check there and they will tell you exactly where to line up. As for the everything else line, I am actually not sure where the ADA line is for the everything else line. Is it near the entrance? Like G?
I don't know.
Someone will know.
Yeah, someone will know. Sorry, guys, we're not super great at the ADA questions.
I know where the ADA table is in the lobby. It's all the way down in A.
I know where the line is for ballroom 20. Yeah, but not for Hall H.
Inside, we know where some of the lines are because they're usually on the other side of the door of the room. That's where
Yeah.
most individual ADA lines are for rooms. Is usually there's one main line for everything, and then on the other side of the door, like let's say 6A, the other side of the door for 6A where they entrance is where they have the ADA lineup.
The line about Hall H is inside the convention center. Was that answered? I apologize.
No, it's next to the convention. It's right next to Hall H.
It is in last year. It was inside the convention center.
They did move it inside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that the entire line or just part of it, like the beginning of the line?
The beginning of the line.
I know that they
least.
don't have that much room there. So yeah,
But
I think
it was most people. That's where I went for a big, because I was ADA last year, so that's where I went, and it was quite a few people were lined up there, and there was a waiting area.
okay.
Yep.
They probably did that because they were leaving people outside in the sun with no tents for an entire day, and that's not a good thing.
No.
All right, so let's check for any other questions.
Real quick, Cassandra Ramirez asked, "Can you wait for Hall H solo? I'm just worried about bathroom breaks." You can absolutely use the restroom. So basically, just like make friends with the people in line with you, and just say, "Hey, I'll be back in 5-10 minutes." Like 99.9% of the time, they'll be totally cool. And just don't be gone too long so you don't miss wristbands. But like you will know when they start. So.
Yeah, and the bathroom for like if it's overnight or after a certain hour, I think it's Hall G is open. The door is open, and you can go in and use the restroom in Hall G. They have security monitoring the door, and you can just go in and out right there, and it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's super easy. All right, so I think that about does it for those questions.
We had a question about preview night, and do people line up for preview night? Yes, they do. It's basically just another day of Comic-Con. It's just a lot shorter, but there's still a line.
Alejandro asked, was that it for Udon? No, there's a whole bunch more Udon stuff. We'll be announcing stuff every morning this week, and then they've got like some signings and some other stuff that they've announced too. Oh, here's the one I wanted to answer. Sir Lister Smeg asked, will the Lego minifigs lotto be at the booth? I don't know. There was actually one of the announcements for the Lego minifigs that did mention the booth, and no one ever got back to me on if that was just like the outlet being confused or if it really is taking place at the booth and not like up on the sales pavilion terrace. I don't know. So to be determined some point here in the next 6 days.
I doubt it's going to be at the booth. That line is so long and so many subscribers, there's no way they can do that on the show floor. That has to be upstairs in sales again or near sales. And someone asked about Nintendo Lounge. We've basically, at this point, kind of assuming Nintendo Lounge is not happening, correct? Because it's not part of the offsite announcement.
It's always been part of the offsite announcement. We've always had like info about it, usually at least like a month before Comic-Con. Again, we're 7 days before right now, and we have nothing. So at this point, I think Nintendo Lounge is definitely not coming. But honestly, who knows? I mean, we're still getting like big offsite announcements every day right now. So.
Yeah. Okay. Someone's answering the question in the chat for the ADA line. It's in Hall B. Outside Hall B is the entrance for ADA.
And
or
Iron
else line.
And Iron Soul says it looks like the esports stuff may be in the space where Nintendo was. So there you go.
There you go. So it's still gaming. It's a gaming lounge, but it's not a Nintendo lounge.
Right.
So thank you to Kathy and the others who answered the question about the ADA line.
Yep.
So are we done? Is that it?
I think so. I mean, you say that we're on like 90 minutes.
Oh, and the ComicCon app is live, by the way. Yes, someone mentioned that. Tropeforce mentioned the app. Yes.
Yes.
App is live.
I mean, honestly, guys, like, there's been so much news. Like, there's no possible way we could cover it. Like, I can barely cover it on our site, so no way we're gonna get it all on the podcast. But you can read our site.
There you go. There's lots of news on the site. You know that. If you're watching or listening to this, you know that the site has tons more news than we can ever cover here.
We'll get right back to it.
Yep, as soon as we finish this, I've got about 20 things to do. Can't wait.
All right. But badges. Hey, if you still need a badge, there are contests. We have a contest tab on the site. Go check it out. I don't have my Star Wars Talk with James cup, but hey, Star Wars Talk with James. Star Wars Sith Trooper. Lots of Sith Troopers today. Woo! All right, that's Star Wars Talk with James.
You better have that Friday, because who do we have as a guest, James?
Oh, let's talk about who's coming up on Friday. Now, it was supposed to be a double super special sized episode today, but we had to reschedule Ashley. So Ashley Eckstein will be on the podcast on Friday evening at 6:30 for a special. Now it's final edition of the SDConCast, the final one before San Diego Comic-Con 2019. So join us Friday, 6:30 p.m., and we will be talking with the Her Universe founder, Ashley Eckstein, and voice of Ahsoka Tano. Yes.
So you better have your mug next week, James.
Oh, I will. And I'm not going to change anything back here, so I can basically say, yeah, this is what it normally looks like. So I'm not like,
we will vouch for you.
I'm not sucking up to the guest. This is what it normally looks like. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, super quick. We've gotten a ton of questions about the NBC Offsite. It was supposed to launch today. Clearly it didn't. I don't know why. I don't know when it will be up. That's my answer. All right. Shall we do our wrap up?
Yeah, go ahead. You can start it up.
Okay. If you or someone you know still needs badges to San Diego Comic-Con this year, all hope is not lost. We have been updating our contest hub. There's a couple of contests. Mostly at this point, they're for locals, but I think there's a couple others still left. I'd also like to mention again that if you are a big art person, to check out that commissions post. And if you are an exhibitor and want us to feature your plans, just shoot us an email.
And we are still doing attendee of the week. We will get it together by next week, guys. And if you want to be an attendee of the week, and I think we're going to continue after Comic-Con because that's really fun to read. So I hope we do. Please just search for it on the site and apply.
And
go ahead.
Prize Mule. Right?
Yeah, Prize Mule returns. And we showed off our super cool enamel pens that we're going to have this year, thanks to yesterday's. So you could walk away with a Gary the Dragon enamel pen of your own.
Yes. And those will be part of Prize Mule. Sometimes, are we going to basically make them a surprise? Like, you win this too. I might do it that way, where someone who wins may just magically win one along with the other item.
The fun thing is there's like 12 of us, and we can all do it however we want. So they may all be done differently.
And what else do we have? We have PaceyCon, the only Comic-Con after party that is actually after Comic-Con.
And the only party at Comic-Con that's all about the greatest character of all time, Pacey Winter. Yeah, so we posted some cool stuff for PaceyCon today, like our drinks list, which I think those descriptions are amazing.
Yeah. We got that, and now just so you're aware, we gave them a list of drink names and kind of said maybe it should have something like this in it or something like that. And then the Dubliner came back with that list of drinks, and all of the descriptions were theirs. So someone at the Dubliner either really did their research or really loves Dawson's Creek.
Either way, I'm already team
We're in there.
A+, yes.
You don't usually look forward to the last day of con, but in this case, I'm psyched. I'm psyched.
I mean, come on, Kim. Again, if we get to draw this lovely Dawson, crying Dawson. So
you can draw Dawson's tears while drinking Dawson's tears.
That's right. And you can have Gary say whatever terrible thing you want Gary to have drawn.
Not only that, but wait, can't you also win Dawson's tears? because we have
No.
some.
Oh, yeah. I have those little earrings of of the crying Dawson meme. Yes, there's all kinds of weird Dawson's Creek stuff. We have other stuff too, just in case you're worried. So don't worry. Like this, I realize this is like our Dawson Creek party, but we have normal Comic-Con things as well. So we will also be there. Our team. You can come say hi to us. There will be a trivia contest that is part Dawson's Creek, part Comic-Con, part 90s trivia. So that'll be fun. Yeah, so that is, if you don't have anything to do after Comic-Con ends, come hang out with us at the Dubliner, 6 to 8 or 9 p.m. One of those.
6 to 8-ish.
It's just a great way to decompress with little silliness. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So as we mentioned, join us live on Friday for our final podcast of the year before Comic-Con, because we'll be doing one as a wrap-up, and we will see you in 2 days. With probably about the same amount of news as we had from the last week, right?
Probably. Oh, kill me now. Okay. Where are we? Sign up for our newsletter? Is that where we are?
We are.
Okay, you can sign up for our newsletter, even though I don't know that we will send one out next Tuesday, but you can be on the list for next year.
There you go. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. And thank you to Adam Smith from the ComicCon Museum for joining us, giving us all that cool information about what's coming up at the museum next week. So in closing, Kim, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am outside Comic-Con on Twitter and Facebook and a website that is coming along. We'll get there eventually. Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can basically find, at this point in time, find me being sarcastic on our Twitter. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can check out, I'm everywhere, Dan Riegel, everywhere. And geekshotphoto.com for links to stuff from my wife and I. And thank you to Beth, our producer, for editing the show, creating all the slides that we normally have, except for when system failure happens, and all the other little things that get this podcast done.
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up on the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We are also on Stitcher Radio, and the link is in the show notes. And we also now have a Patreon, whatever it is, which basically, as we've explained several times, it's basically just we had to switch hosting and server companies last year because our old one closed down. Our costs are like 4 times what they were. Nothing whatsoever is changing on the site. Everything's free as it always has been. It's basically just a way for you, if you think that we provide a useful and valuable tool for your Comic-Con experience, you can throw a couple bucks our way. You're under no obligation to. There's a sign up on the sidebar of our site.
There you go. And if you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening, everybody. Go
Shawarma.
One more